Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Listen, Andy, you were an excellent boxer, but after boxing, you've been sought out for to train with fighters, now to be on a broadcast team. How's life been after boxing? Obviously good. Well, it seems good.
Yeah, I never anticipated this. I thought my plan was that was it. Boxing was over, settle down now and live a more structured life. But things just went from one to the next. I got involved back in boxing, training a managing young fighter called Paddy Donovan, who's an Irish welterweight. And from that, fighters just, I don't know, they started to seek me out. First Jason Quigley, then Tyson Fury, and recently Joseph Parker. And it's a privilege, isn't it? To be asked to share your knowledge and to help people.
So is your wife mad, upset at it now? She's like, I thought you were coming back home. Now you're still out on the road.
I'm still out on the road 8 or 5 weeks at a time, and with 2 young kids. It's a juggling act. It's busy, and now commentary has come on. Like, I was doing commentary periodically here and there, and would always travel for it, sometimes to the States, sometimes to England, but now this is a full-time job, and I'm really excited to be working for the Zone. It's the biggest platform in boxing, and to be part of that is a real privilege.
Absolutely. I mean, the things that men will do just to get away from changing Pampers. Yeah, we know. we know you love boxing. No, but
I
Andy,
do my fair share when I'm home.
Andy, if I had to ask you for a percentage, how much percentage of what you do you think comes from the great Emanuel Steward? Do you catch yourself and say, wow, that's him?
A lot of things, not even in boxing, a lot of things I do outside of boxing, how I cook and how I do my laundry and things like that I learned from Emmanuel as well, all these little tricks that he in certain ways, he had his own way of doing things in the gym and in the house, and how he traveled, and we were on the road a lot, and yeah, listen, it's hard to comprehend or to really quantify the influence he's had on my career outside of my parents. I would say, that's the type of relationship it was. But also Adam Booth, who was my trainer after Emmanuel passed away. A lot of the stuff I do with the guys is from Adam, and a lot of the way I communicate is from Adam. So I've been very fortunate with my education in boxing. I also work with Sugar Hill and Joey Gamache a lot when I was training with Emmanuel. So there's a lot of influences there, but also you have to find your own style and your own thing, and trust yourself, and have be strong in your convictions as well, and what you think is the right way to do things.
Mm-hmm. Andy, I'll ask you the same question I asked Andre Ward, who obviously was a fighter and now does commentary as well. This puts you in a tough spot sometimes when you have great relationships with fighters, because you're a nice guy, you get along with everybody, but you might have to commentate on a fighter that personally in a negative way. Maybe he's not performing up to par in a fight. How do you deal with that when you run into these guys afterwards and you smash them on the air?
I'm always constructive, I think, maybe constructive criticism, but I just be completely honest and say how I feel, and it's my opinion, and they may or may not agree with it, but I think if they look hard at it, look hard at the fight, that they'll see that there might be some truth there. That's, I've never had anybody confront me, even when I've been critical of people, and I've had fighters come up to me and say, well, listen, I'll take that on board. And I think if you do that, if you do it in a constructive way and there's no malice behind it, if you're trying to say things that might help them in their careers and in how they fight. And listen, I never run anybody down, because I know what it takes to get into that ring. I know what it takes to put your body through the punishment of training and training camp and the sacrifices that have to be made. So I'm never overly negative anyway. So that's maybe why everybody likes me.
All right, well, Fight Camp starts this weekend. It's Fight Camp 2 in Eddie Hearn's backyard. Eddie Hearn's backyard looks like Central Park over here in New York. What do you think about the up-and-coming star who's been talking a lot, but he's been backing it up in the ring, Conor Ben?
I think, as a lot of people have noted, he's one of the most improved fighters, and he's a real fighter now. You have these guys who sons of famous fighters, and sometimes it's a novelty that they get put on the big shows and they get showcased, but can't really back it up. But Conor Ben has really dedicated himself to the sport and to his training and his education. He spent a lot of time in the gym, and I think he's kind of separated himself from his father now, and he's seen as his own fighter, building his own legacy, and not just, when you look at another fighter on the card, Ricky Hatton's son,
yes,
Campbell Hatton, he's got to take some inspiration from Conor Benn and kind of try to go the same way, invest in himself in times, putting in time to gym, and make the most of this opportunity that they have. Very fortunate to be sons of great fighters, but Conor Benn has made the most of it, and he's now he's coming up there. He's looking like he can be a challenger for a world title. But he has to get past Granados, who's been in there with the best, much more experienced, and will have a lot of guile and a lot of craft behind what he does. So it's an interesting contest. I do see ways that Ben can expose Granados, because he has that Mexican style, but it's not a typical Mexican style where he bobs and moves to get into distance. He kind of jabs a lot to get into distance, but when he does jab, he leaves himself open, raises his chin, and if Ben can time him coming in, then it could be a good night for Ben.
Andy, we all know Ben has all the intangibles. He talks the talk and he's walking the walk. Now there's another guy out there that doesn't do too much talking, but does all the walking in the ring. Joshua BUATSI impressed me very much in his last fight. How much potential does he have, even though he's not outspoken, but to be a star out there in Great Britain?
Well, he's doing his job in the ring, and you can see how he carries himself in interviews. And even when he knocked that last guy down, he was so not apologetic, but was concerned for the guy. And that's the type of person he is. In Botelnik, this is a tough fight he's got, and to me, there's not much upside in fighting Botelnik, because he's expected to beat him, but it's a real dangerous opponent. It's a live opponent, and I guess these are the fights we want to see him in. But for him and his career and the moves he's making, I thought, this is a risky fight at this stage in his career. He's with Virgil Hunter now, and that seems to be a great link up. There's so much knowledge there and wisdom. So listen, he has great ability, and what a lot of British fighters don't have, he has great balance, punch selection, and he's a finisher. If he gets you hurt in any way, if he senses any type of fragility in his opponent, he goes for it, and he tries to take him out. And that's what I like to see. I want to see knockouts. I don't want to see guys going for the distance.
100%. Who does? In these next 3 weeks of Fight Camp 2, are there any fights or any fight in particular that you think people are probably sleeping on that might be incredible?
I think this cruiserweight fight this weekend between Tommy McCarthy and Chris Bellum-Smith, there's a bit of bad blood there, which always makes it a bit more interesting. There's a bit of history there, and the cruiserweights are always likely to entertain because they're big enough to knock you out, but they also have a bit more skill than the heavyweights, so they have to be a bit more athletic and a bit more agile. So I think that could be a cracking fight. I think it's a good matchup.
Andy, we talked about this early on in the show in terms of Fury and Wilder. The fight obviously postponed. We don't know, maybe October. Who do you think this serves more, Wilder or Fury? Who benefits from this delay?
I think Wilder benefits from it, and there you go, talking, Cam heavily involved in. I think it's a benefit to him because he'll have longer with Malik Scott, longer to prepare, and more time to get himself in the right place mentally, because that's what that challenge is for him, is to be right mentally. I think after the second fight, the job that Tyson done, it'll take an immense effort to come back from that mentally for Wilder. So it's given him more time to get the style that Malik Scott wants him to have. I don't know what they're going to do, whether they're going to fight or try and box.
Do you like what Malik has been doing?
I see a lot. He looks dangerous. I see a lot of fast combinations. You see only clips, and maybe that's what they want you to see. Maybe that's not what they're actually doing. There's a lot of gamesmanship to this stuff. But listen, I think whatever Tyson wants to do in the fight, Tyson will do. Whether he wants to box him or go through him, as he's been saying. So I do like what I'm saying. To answer your question, I think Malik is kind of re-energized him a bit. And Malik's a great talker, so I'm sure he's getting into his head, and that's the most important part of the job for Wilder, because Tyson really it was a demolition job in the second fight, so it's going to take a big effort for Wilder to come back from that.
You know, we're gonna have to start supporting our guys over here like you guys support your guys over there. You know what I'm saying? Go Wilder. No, but listen, you got Southpaw versus Southpaw, just like you and Billy Joe Saunders, close fight. Who do you give the edge to with Spence versus the legend, Manny Pacquiao?
Wow, what a fight. And what for both guys, it's such an exciting fight. I give Spence the edge because of the natural size and the youth. You know, but Pacquiao, you just can't write Pacquiao off, can you? Look what he did to Thurman. No, people said the same about Thurman, you know? Spence is a more methodical guy, very steady in what he does, very strong. Pacquiao is explosive and fast, and has that bouncing rhythm. Again, it could be a classic, could be a war, and it could be a classic. Spence will trade. Spence is not he's not a boxer by any means. He's a come forward guy. Listen, I don't want to go against Pacquiao, so I'm going to go for Pacquiao.
Whoa!
In one of the greatest, to cement his legacy as one of the greatest of all time.
All right, so you said greatest. Last question, bro. I asked this to Carl Frampton, and he said if he would have beat Jamel Herring, then it would have been him. Who is the greatest Irish boxer of all time?
Yeah, I agree with Carl. Had he beat Jamel Herring, you probably would have had to give it to him. But right now, and I think it'll take a lot to beat it, Katie Taylor.
Ooh.
You know, regardless of gender, Katie Taylor, what she's done for the sport as an individual, in terms of females and young girls watching her. My daughter, is asking about her all the time. As a 4-year-old daughter is mad about Katie Taylor, and my wife. So it's not just boxing fans that support her. She's like a huge household name here in Ireland and this side of the world. So, and what she's achieved in the ring, I think it gives her the rightful place as the greatest Irish boxer of all time.
That's a great answer. Now listen, Andy, man, we're looking forward to hearing you calling these fights. Welcome to the DAZN team, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir, brother. God bless you.